theme this year is Wisdom for Future, harmonizing the diverse boards, different minds, common purpose, and one future. Let's go to session 4. Session 4 is going to be a very interesting topic, or is engaging C-suite how to build healthy teamwork without crossing the line.
So much complexity brought about by changing consumer tastes, threats of cyber risks. You have climate change considerations. You have new technologies that are very, very quickly changing. Even business models are being disrupted. So I think in the midst of all of this change, it's very important for both the board and the management to be tightly aligned towards a common purpose, a common set of values, shared vision, and ideally also a clarity of strategy that they both commit to and adhere to.
I think, if there's no trust and there's no dynamic teamwork between the board and management, it would be, the company would have a problem with talent management and talent retention.
It's a relationship in which the people feel safe and accepted, right? Because unless a person feels that he is in a safe zone, it's very difficult for him to be open, to be candid, and to express himself freely. And it is only under these conditions, I think, that people can be creative, people can be very open and candid with each other, to be able to say what is going right and what is not going well, and therefore to make the necessary adjustments and course corrections.
Back to the board members, the ability to filter essential information, ability for the board to also communicate with the management what the risk thresholds are, and what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. And I think, communication, I think that is very important, whether it is in the boardroom or outside the boardroom.
Oftentimes, sometimes management or the CEO feel insecure about asking for help.
Yeah.
It may paint him or her as being weak in some respects, and therefore maybe not the proper executive for that role. And if I may add, Pauline, I think one very important component of developing healthy relationships to have very strong shared values.
In understanding the business and the disruption around the business.
Yes.
I think, particularly like, for instance, in the technology business and in telcos, you don't readily get board members who understand the industry and the dynamics in the industry. And I think it is incumbent on, but board members are, they have a lot of wisdom, they have a lot of experience, but they must invest time in understanding the dynamics in the industry. I think the board must not undermine the CEO's authority.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be very clear. I mean, management members are eventually hired by the CEO, and their appraisals will also be done by the CEO. Now, the board members may have views on the strengths and weaknesses of the management team and how they fit the organization, and the board can support the CEO with, the development for these executives. I think it is important that you look at not just building stars, but really a star team. And when you have a company where everybody wants to be the star, it can get quite dysfunctional. But you need to make sure that they're aligned. But of course, the first person to start with must be the CEO, and you cannot undermine the CEO authority unless the CEO is the cause, in which case you've got to undertake some performance management as a board, the collective view of the board. But I think, we all, if we all have supported and endorsed the CEO appointment, I think we have to support the CEO and his team.
I am very much in favor of board and board members engaging with the C-suite, and maybe even one level deeper than that, subject to the forewarning of Jeann that any interaction should not undermine the authority of the CEO. Why do we need an engagement between the board and other members of the C-suite? I think there are at least two very good reasons. Number one, because by engaging at that level of management, board members get to learn more about the business and in greater depth.
Yes.
Right? Because if you're just engaging with the CEO, you're really talking generally about strategy, the broad execution of that strategy. Whereas if you're engaging in this with other members of the C-suite, then you get to discuss marketing and sales. You get to discuss operations, technology, human resources, financial management at a level of depth that you cannot get by just engaging with the CEO. And Jeann correctly points out, you have to be an informed board director to be able to govern properly. And the more you are informed in an in-depth manner, then the more effective you can be as a board director. That's the first good reason in my view. The second reason is because by engaging with the other C-suite members, you give them the opportunity to interact with how a board member thinks, what his concerns are at that level of governance. And in fact, maybe once in a while, to learn also from his own experience. Right? So it's a two-way street that can make for a better governance and management. Subject to what Jeann is saying, none of these should undermine the authority of the CEO.